In a surprising twist that has sparked speculation in the courtroom, Mark Agnifilo, one of Sean Diddy Combs' top defense attorneys, abruptly exited a recent hearing. Agnifilo is well known for handling complex cases involving high-profile clients and intense scrutiny, making his sudden departure particularly noteworthy. While it's not unheard of for lawyers to withdraw under certain circumstances, such exits often raise questions about potential conflicts within the defense team, disagreements over strategy, or unexpected developments in a highly publicized case. This latest development could indicate deeper tensions in Diddy's legal battle, potentially leading to shifts in defense strategy as the remaining attorneys adapt to the loss of one of their key voices.
Combs referred to as, among other things, freak-offs. Now, you can be a freak and it's not illegal, but you can't force people to do shit. And this is what I'm getting at. When you have a lot of money and you have no accountability and you want to do whatever the f you want to do whenever the f you want to do it, I think you can go a little bonkers.
You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
I mean, he's complaining to a teenager that you don't really want to hang out with me. Okay, but he didn't do this, just so you know. He didn't do this. He did not do this. He doesn't have... Oh my God, look at all that baby oil. He didn't do this. He didn't have all these bottles of baby oil for nothing.
And we'll fight every day until we don't have to fight anymore.
That means when he's out of money.
He's not afraid of the charges. There's nothing that the government...
Okay, that's just dumb. He's not afraid of the charges? Wouldn't you be afraid of the charges? Where are you? You're in fucking Rikers Island. You goddamn well better be afraid. They just executed 2 search warrants. They've got obliterated serial numbers on firearms. They've got videos and baby oil. You know, what he needs is somebody to tell him what the truth is. You are You are absolutely You're going to prison for the good portion of the rest of your life. I guarantee you, they've offered immunity to the people around him so that they testify.
Mark Agnifilo, one of Diddy's lead defense attorneys, has a reputation for representing high-profile and controversial clients, bringing years of experience in high-stakes cases, including racketeering, trafficking, and white-collar crimes. His previous work on cases like NXIVM, where he defended Keith Raniere, later convicted of trafficking and racketeering, has drawn both scrutiny and respect for his ability to navigate complex legal challenges. Agnifilo's role in Diddy's case highlights the seriousness of the charges and the level of defense needed to counter such significant allegations, especially given the public scrutiny surrounding the defendant's past and associations. His recent walkout raises questions. Does it signal potential fractures in Diddy's defense strategy, or is it part of a larger, more calculated plan?
And the point person behind that request and Diddy's team is defense attorney Mark Agnifilo. If that name is familiar to you, it may be because you've heard it before. He's repped several high-profile defendants, like the NXIVM cult leader Keith Raniere and Roger Ng, a former Goldman Sachs banker convicted of bribery and money laundering. We'll get to those cases in a second, but first, a bit about Agnifilo's history. He received a bachelor's degree in philosophy and political science from Connecticut College in 1986. In 1990, he received his Juris degree from Brooklyn Law School, and while there, even received the American Jurisprudence Award for Outstanding Performance in Trial Advocacy. Starting in 1998, Agnifilo began his work at the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of New Jersey. There, he worked as the chief of Violent Crime Unit and specialized in cases involving murder, money laundering, extortion, and drug trafficking. During his tenure there, Agnifilo became a nationally recognized expert in sophisticated criminal prosecutions and the RICO statute, the very same statute that Diddy is now charged under. Agnifilo stayed with the U.S. Attorney's Office until 2006, when he began work at the law office of Benjamin Brafman, who, by the way, repped Diddy in his trial regarding the New York nightclub shooting.
Legal analyst Bruce Rivers has commented on the serious potential consequences Diddy faces, particularly regarding federal sentencing guidelines related to the racketeer-influenced and corrupt organizations RICO Act and trafficking charges. These guidelines are notoriously strict, especially when defendants are accused of multiple offenses that suggest a pattern of organized criminal behavior. Rivers pointed out that if Diddy is found guilty of these serious charges, he could face a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. This situation elevates the case from a mere celebrity trial to a critical moment where the freedom of one of music's biggest icons is at stake. Rivers' insights underscore the prosecutorial advantages in RICO cases, where conspiracy alone can lead to a conviction, making Diddy's circumstances even more precarious.
And separate from the freak-offs, Combs, among other things, hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims at times by their hair. And you keep in mind, these victims are going to come in and testify. Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. I don't want to him anymore. Too bad. You're going to him some more. They also got 1,000 bottles of baby oil. You know, they got terabytes and terabytes of videos. You know, remember I was telling you they got all those electronics? Somebody like this guy wants to preserve that. I guarantee you it's all there.
The RICO charges against Diddy are central to the prosecution's case, encompassing multiple allegations under a statute typically used to combat organized crime. RICO laws enable prosecutors to argue that various alleged offenses such as trafficking and misconduct are interconnected within an organized framework. This creates a challenging environment for Diddy's defense as the strategy allows prosecutors to link different pieces of evidence, making it harder for the defense to counter individual accusations without addressing the broader alleged organization. For Diddy, this means his defense must work to dismantle the prosecution's narrative that these allegations are part of a coordinated scheme. This includes addressing the claims of trafficking and potential organized misconduct. The question remains, how will Diddy's defense effectively dismantle a case structured around RICO's expansive scope of interconnected wrongdoings?
Sean Diddy Combs will stand trial in May on his sex trafficking charges. A judge at a hearing in Manhattan set the trial date, also discussing a gag order imposed on prosecutors and the defense, telling them not to discuss the case or provide any material about the case to the media, to the public. They contend that the government leaked a damaging piece of evidence potentially against Combs when a videotape from 2016 was played on CNN earlier this year. That video shows Sean Combs and his then girlfriend Cassie in a hotel in Los Angeles. It had been a secret, private for many years, but then it came to the forefront and was played publicly on CNN. The defense contends that that tape was leaked by investigators. Prosecutors say they have no knowledge of any leak, and they refute the allegation that they were involved in any leaks. The judge says he will consider potentially having an evidentiary hearing to get to the bottom of that. That won't happen for some time. First, the defense and then the prosecution will submit paperwork outlining their positions on this.
Since the start of the investigation, Diddy's legal team has firmly denied all allegations. Attorneys Mark Agnifilo and Tenny Gagos have taken a strong public stance, arguing that the case lacks the concrete evidence typically necessary for serious charges. They contend that the allegations are primarily based on circumstantial evidence and character attacks, which they believe are insufficient for a conviction. This strategy aims to frame the situation as a case of he said, she said. She said, while challenging the credibility of the allegations and witnesses. Their denials seek to shift public perception, portraying Diddy as a victim of circumstance rather than a key player in organized crime. The question remains, will the defense's vigorous denial influence public opinion and juror perception, or does the prosecution's case stand on firmer ground?
Secret tape recordings in Diddy's homes. Diddy appears to be a voyeur that likes to spy on people on his hidden cameras, which are wired in secret places all over his mansions. Little Rod's lawsuit revealed that Mr. Combs had hidden cameras in every single room of his home, including in the bathrooms and shower heads. The evidence revealed that Diddy had recordings of several celebrities and artists engaging in illegal activity. These individuals were recorded without their knowledge and consent. Mr. Combs possesses compromising footage of every person who has attended his freak-off parties, so the entire hip-hop industry could implode before our very eyes as the feds review the evidence. It was revealed that Diddy allegedly has freak-off footage of Beyonce.
Defense attorney Tenny Gagos has made notable comparisons between Diddy's case and those of Harvey Weinstein and R. Kelly, both of which have faced intense public scrutiny and controversial narratives. However, Gagos highlights key differences, specifically noting that Diddy's case reportedly lacks the concrete physical evidence that contributed to the convictions of Weinstein and R. Kelly. By drawing this comparison, Gagos aims to preemptively address potential parallels and differentiate Diddy's defense from the outcomes of these high-profile cases. Her remarks emphasize the defense's strategy to portray Diddy's allegations as largely circumstantial, creating a distinction between public perception and the actual evidentiary reality. The question remains, does Gago's comparison bolster or undermine Diddy's defense, given the intense public focus on high-profile cases in recent years?
It's not all the time they say this, but they say this is going our way. Not the bail. They say we have it. We got a lot of people who are going to talk and say that this is what Diddy was about, and some people may pass it off as hip-hop culture, but it is a series of felonies and RICO. What do they have wrong?
They did say in court today, they've talked to 50 witnesses. We said the same thing. We've been doing a parallel investigation at every single step of the way, talking to every single there's the same kind of universe of people here that he's been around. We're talking to people to show that we have a case. He's fighting, he's innocent, and he's gonna be able to show it.
Innocent means he didn't do any of the wrong things. Not guilty means they can't make the case,
He's
right?
innocent.
So you think he did none of these things? He was never present in any of these activities? This wasn't his lifestyle?
But a lifestyle and being present in activities doesn't mean he committed a crime.
Unless those activities in that lifestyle are criminal.
But those activities in the lifestyle is not criminal. What was notable today, what my partner Mark said in court, is they never once said that these women didn't consent to what happened. Not once.
Legal experts outside Diddy's defense team have expressed their views, indicating that if Diddy is convicted, he could face a lengthy sentence due to the serious nature of the charges and federal sentencing guidelines for trafficking and RICO offenses. They highlight the combination of factors involved, particularly allegations of misconduct and organized criminal behavior, which could significantly amplify potential penalties. These experts' public statements shape perceptions of the case, framing it as a high-stakes moment in celebrity legal history. Such analyses add pressure to Diddy's defense, as expert opinions can sway both public sentiment and juror attitudes. The question arises, does the involvement of legal experts influence public and jury opinion, and can Diddy's defense effectively counter these impactful statements?
And turned raunchy. People were getting high. There were girls swimming topless, young-looking girls that were, not dressed. We moved to another part of the house so that he wouldn't be exposed to what was going on.
In later years, Diddy implemented a curfew for children.
The kids had like an hour left. So get extra comfortable, but this thing turns into something that when y'all get older, y'all don't want to come to.
I think he's a monster.
This week, Houston-based lawyer Tony Busby says more than 120 people are coming forward with claims Diddy sexually abused them.
Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old. We have an individual who was 14 years old. We have one who was 15.
Did Diddy assault you in any way?
When you say assault, I don't know the exact definition, but he put his arm around me in an uncomfortable way.
Diddy is now behind bars, facing federal charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. He denies all claims of sexual abuse, including against minors.
The seriousness of Diddy's case has drawn significant attention from legal analysts who emphasize the role of misconduct and organized crime charges in celebrity trials. These experts argue that cases involving RICO elements, particularly with high-profile figures, set a precedent for how aggressively the justice system tackles alleged wrongdoings in the entertainment industry. In this context, public opinion may be heavily swayed by analysts discussing potential outcomes and examining the defense's response to serious allegations. For Diddy's legal team, this external commentary complicates jury selection and courtroom strategy, as high-profile cases often struggle to maintain juror objectivity. Media coverage focused on expert assessments can exacerbate this challenge, potentially painting Diddy as culpable even before the trial has fully commenced. In such situations, defense teams typically aim to counter this influence by targeting specific elements of the prosecution's narrative, especially those that appeal to emotion rather than relying solely on factual evidence.
Height of his career, still very much so an icon and influential figure. So she's just a young girl from Northern California who's gonna believe that he had done something to her like this. So she didn't tell anybody. She did not hire an attorney. All she did was make the police report in the hopes that maybe the police would try to investigate and come up with anything. But she said she kind of felt from the police that they were disregarding what she was saying, even without saying Mr. Holmes' name. So she didn't feel any confidence that revealing his name would have done anything.
Sure. I mean, but there's a police report.
Yeah.
I mean, that fact in of itself is a big deal, because when you're talking about going back in time and talking about these allegations from other alleged victims, there's not a lot of police reports, but you guys actually have one. And is that going to be revealed? Are we going to be able to see it?
Yes, as soon as I file my lawsuit in civil court, I will be attaching the criminal complaint that was made. I'll attach the number so everyone can see that this is a real number and can go to the police department there and request their own copy of that police report that was made back in 2018.
Well, that's going to be a huge deal when it happens, obviously, so we want to follow up on that. Did Mr. Combs have any reaction? Do you know if he was interviewed? I mean, he was named in the police report?
I don't think so. Based on what she said, she really felt that the police were trying to bury this and disregard her claims and not really investigate, which is another reason why a lot of victims don't report these things to the police. We have to address the elephant in the room is that we have victims, especially women, who go to the police who are typically men who don't actually investigate these things. They victim blame, they victim shame, and women don't feel safe or even protected to even make these claims because they don't think they'll be taken seriously, nor will their claims be investigated.
Legal experts warn that if Diddy is convicted, he could face a life sentence under federal guidelines due to the severity of the charges against him. The case includes allegations of racketeering, trafficking, and transportation for prostitution, each carrying lengthy potential sentences. The most serious charge, trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, has a mandatory minimum of 15 years and can lead to a life sentence, especially in federal cases where penalties are typically strict and cumulative. Analysts also point out that even if the defense establishes reasonable doubt for individual allegations, they may still face significant challenges. The compounded nature of RICO charges allows prosecutors to argue that even loosely connected allegations contribute to an organized structure, which limits the defense's ability to isolate specific incidents. Prosecutors frame these allegations as part of a broader, calculated pattern. The combined influence of expert opinions and public sentiment puts pressure on the defense to adopt innovative strategies to effectively counter the prosecution's narrative. Each element of their case could impact wider perceptions of accountability in high-profile cases.
Some of these stories, because I think it's important to point this out. When you highlight and you talk about some of the charges that have been leveled against them, and you see some of the stuff that's being said about them. Look at this right here. Former Danity Kane singer Aubrey O'Day writes, "I never thought I would see this day," she told TMZ. "We all buried this inside of us in order to be able to keep going. And not just me, but victims you don't even know yet." We're all processing what that type of vindication can actually feel like now. Every conversation I've had with victims last night has been beyond moving on all levels. That was Aubrey O'Day. You know 50 Cent was gonna make sure his voice was heard. Clowning P. Diddy. Taunting him basically, because he's long taunted P. Diddy for years over the harrowing allegations against him. And what does he say here? This is yesterday, 50 Cent. "Here I am, keeping good company with the Drew Barrymore TV show. And I don't have 1,000 bottles of lube at the house." 50 Cent was referencing the over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and personal lubricants for the freak-offs that the indictment revealed were allegedly found during the raid of Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami back in March.
The indictment outlines allegations of a criminal enterprise in which Diddy is accused of orchestrating activities that involved mistreating guests and even obstructing justice. Legal analyst El Honig noted that the combination of RICO charges and trafficking accusations presents a significant challenge for the defense, as each charge increases the potential sentence. Diddy's detention at the Metropolitan Detention Center (MDC) in Brooklyn has thrust him into a difficult environment that starkly contrasts with his previous lifestyle. The MDC is known for its restrictive conditions, enforcing limited freedoms and austere living arrangements, making it a demanding setting for high-profile detainees. For Diddy, this experience likely requires both psychological and physical adjustments as he adapts to life in a facility designed to minimize outside contact and maintain strict security protocols. His situation underscores the seriousness of the allegations, as defendants held without bail are generally viewed as potential flight risks or dangers to society.
There is a reason that people say you don't want to catch a federal case. You have a federal case, the feds bring you in, you've been indicted. More often than not, I mean, what did you say the number?
95% of the time.
They're gonna get you. You're gonna be convicted of something. And that's what Diddy is facing.
Unlimited resources. It is hard to match that if you are a defendant in a case.
But it has been done, as we told you at the beginning of the show.
John DeLorean case.
DeLorean did, so it can be done, but can it be done in this particular case? I mean, he said that Diddy has incredible resources that will help. But if the case is as strong as it appears at this point, or at least as the feds have presented it, you think there's no chance. But maybe they're not presenting exactly what they have at this point.
Well, the thing is, it's usually, in terms of public perception, the strongest the day the indictment comes out because you haven't heard the defense.
Public reaction has been intense, further fueled by comparisons to other high-profile celebrity cases, which adds pressure on Diddy's legal team to dismantle the interconnected allegations against him. Federal guidelines offer little flexibility for plea bargains in cases involving coercive trafficking, making it likely that if found guilty, Diddy could face substantial prison time. This case will test how effectively his defense can counteract federal prosecutorial power in a high-profile context where public perception often clashes with legal realities. The federal sentencing guidelines for RICO and trafficking charges present significant challenges, as convictions for these offenses typically lead to lengthy or even life sentences. In Diddy's situation, the possibility of a multi-decade or life sentence highlights the high stakes of the trial, especially since RICO guidelines allow for cumulative sentences that reflect interconnected activities. Legal experts have pointed out the inflexibility of federal guidelines, which can leave little room for leniency in cases involving organized crime. Diddy's defense faces a formidable challenge, as it will be crucial to dismantle each charge or reduce the narrative of organized wrongdoing to avoid the maximum federal penalties. Can Diddy's defense effectively counter the federal guidelines and mitigate the risk of a harsh sentence if convicted? That's it for today's video. Stay tuned for more updates until next time.